Hello, everybody. Welcome to Community Sync for the PWA studio team and interested parties and local legends and community heroes. It is July 17th, and we have a huge schedule. Um, Welcome, everybody. We are going to talk about upcoming release notes with James Kalkman and Docs. Andy Terranova is going to do some My Account walkthrough. Revant's going to do some mini cart walkthrough. Tommy Weevil is going to talk about security, and Anthula is going to walk us through some UX primitives. We have a full plate and community corner as well. So, Mr. Kalkman, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure can. Let's get started.
Cool. All right, let me share my screen. All right, you guys see my browser in the PWA Studio?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so the release notes for 7.0. First, how to get there. Make sure you're on the release 7.0 branch and just open up changelog.md. And these are the 7.0 release notes. Basically, I'll go over the contents for 7.0. First, we got the extensibility framework that James Zetland worked on. I've listed out the different extension points as of 7.0. I've also linked to the source for where these extension points are declared. They have JS docs in them to help you get started. We are in the process of publishing these out into the docs site, but for now you can check out the source to help you get started, or at least familiarize yourself with different extension points. Another thing for 7.0 is the Venya is basically a rebrand thanks to UX. If you're a regular of these demos, and you'll know that we've changed how Venya looks. You can check out what that looks like in develop.pwavenya.com. I've added some links here. This is to a build of the develop branch. We've also introduced a new route for Venya to showcase page builder integration. You can access what that looks like in this link. It just shows off page builder components here. Let's see. 7.0 also includes new standalone cart and checkout pages, as well as an order confirmation page. And I provide a link here too to check it out. There's no items here, but once you add new items, they'll show up here, and you can go through the whole process yourself. We've also introduced a standard dialogue component. Andy, do you want to speak more of this? I think this was yours.
Yeah, I can. I think I presented it in this forum when it was first introduced, but basically a standardized way to pop dialogues, including modal dialogues and stuff throughout the app. We had a lot of inconsistency in how we were doing that before, so just kind of gives a reusable shared component for putting your own views and things inside of it, and it takes care of displaying and all that stuff. So there's a storybook entry for that too.
Cool. Thanks, Andy. And between the last release and this release, we've been publishing, PWA Studio fundamental tutorials. You can find these listed here. I finally managed to go through the backlog of contributions from the community for these tutorials, so check those out. And if you wanted to get deep dive into the details of what's all in this release. I've listed all the PRs. Um, you know, this is about 120 some PRs in this release. You take a closer look at what exactly changed and you know how we fixed the bug or how we implemented a feature. And the last thing is the known issues. Oh, right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is an issue with the old mini cart where the pay with card header doesn't show up. But since we are in, since we're redoing the mini cart, there's going to be a new one. So this is going to stay in the old one. Someone help me out.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Okay.
The old one is just been renamed to Legacy Minicart, and that well, I guess in 7.0, right? I guess it still is the Minicart, but yeah, that pay with card header is just like a little title heading bar on the Braintree form that is no longer there.
Cool. Yeah, so that is a known issue, and I think that's all for the release notes. Are there any questions? Nope. Back to you, James.
All right. I wanted to comment that all of your work on documenting the new concepts, like the stuff that I know because I'm working on the extension framework, that's a lot of work to do. And I'm nitpicking, which is why I haven't gotten the things back to you. But it's also worth observing and looking at from community point of view. That's a hard question. That's a hard favor to ask because what we're asking is go look at something that you don't know if you can use it yet. Take some time to investigate a feature that may not be part of your plans and needs right now. And so I have no expectation, but I would hope that you would look at upcoming things and be very willing to say, I understand this or I don't understand this. Some of our most treasured people will say straightforward, I don't get it. And so don't worry, please do that when you see it. These things take several revisions to start making sense to everyone. But given that this is the earliest time that this is the first version of documentation of a new thing, I just want to say thank you, James, for bravely setting forth to make it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And I guess that's it. Next is the My Account walkthrough with Mr. Terranova. Are you ready to go, Andy?
Yeah. Let's see.
All right.
All right. All right. So yeah, I was just excited to pick up the first ticket in the new My Account epic. So you'll start to see some My Account stuff coming online. Looks really cool. This first one was the addition of the My Account menu. So there, you'll see up at the top of the site header now, where there used to be just search and the mini cart triggers, there's now a sign in trigger. So like I said, this kind of functionality will be coming online. So we've kind of split the sign in form out into a different ticket. So that'll be picked up soon. Over here in the left nav, the kind of footer over here is a little bit different now. The call to action to sign in. So you can sign in from the left nav. I got this stuff filled out automatically by the browser. But signing in, you can kind of see there's like a new header icon thing up here, personalized greeting. And here's like your list of account links once you are signed in that you can go visit. None of these things are online yet, but they're all part of the new My Account Epic that we've just started. So as we go on here, these links will become active and these functionalities will come online. So just to show what that looks like, back on like the full screen up here, this same list of links shows up from the site header. One other thing I wanted to call out is on mobile view. Of course, I kept it open.
Are you intending to share your screen? Because we're not seeing your screen.
Am I not sharing my screen? Goodness.
I'm seeing it.
I see.
I can see it.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. It's just me then.
All right. I can stop and start again, I guess. Okay. Well, I hope that worked. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that on smaller size screens, that sign in button doesn't appear in the header. There's just not enough room for it. But you can always get back there from the main menu. I can sign out and stuff like that. So that's really it. It was just an exciting new area that we're working on, the My Account stuff. So long it's been cart and checkout. So this is a whole new cool experience that's going to be coming online here soon. And that's it.
Snazzy.
It's question time. There's a lot to look at. I have to ask if you can see any way that the layout and the features you've built could be extended, additional sections, additional cramming new functionality in there can get pretty gross. We've seen a lot of busy screens, so I think that what you've made is both possible to extend and scale really well. I've looked at it, so I'm not casting any doubt. I am just wondering what you predict for it in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this design. So we used to have the Venia logo in the middle here. Certainly, like any kind of call to actions that you want to put up in the header, there's a lot more room for now. Like I kind of showed, if you go to mobile, that area decreases a lot, so you should probably be careful there. But certainly you could add a whole bunch of call to actions up here. As far as like the links themselves, like if you wanted to add new menu items in here, this like literally right now, this is just a JSON list. So yeah, we could pretty easily tap into that, and it's a list of links, really. So yeah, you can link to your own pages and stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you for elaborating. Let's see. Are there questions in chat? No? All right. Thank you very much, Andy. And man, we are killing it on time. So maybe I'll talk about routing after all. Revanth is going to look at the mini carts and the ways we've been revisiting and rethinking it. Revanth, are you ready to do that? Revanth, we can't hear you yet. Are you with us? Still muted.
I have been talking and I didn't realize I was muted.
There you go.
Let me share the screen now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Edwin.
You can be heard and seen.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. And first things first, Andy, we wore the same shirt, so kudos to that. It was totally nothing planned, just so we're clear. Okay, so this is the minicart demo. We already went over minicart right before the break. Andy did a demo of it, but since then we have come up with a couple of adjustments to it, and that's what I'm going to be demoing today. There are a bunch of PRs right now sitting in the backlog, but all of them tend to make certain change to the minicart. Most of them have the name minicart in them, or like the tag, but I'm going to take the example of 2549 because it's probably the most completed one. So here I have the deployed version of 2549, and in the interest of time, I've already added a couple of items to the cart. So right now, in the mini cart, I have 4 items, but then it only shows 2.5, just so as a example or an indication to the user that there is more to scroll. That's why we only show 2.5. And we have added optimistic UI features to delete functionality. So when someone clicks on, let's say, a delete of an item from the cart, you can see that once I do that, the item is going to be blurred out. Not blurred out, the opacity is going to go down to 0.5. And also, since the items and the subtotal is going to be updating soon, that also gets to be 0.5 opacity. So let's do that. So I don't know how clear was it in Blue Jeans, but the operation was quite quick. So let's try once again. Just pay attention to the item here and also the header here. So it blurs out as an indication that an operation is in progress. Also, we have added links for the items in the cart. So when you click on it, it takes you directly to the PDP page. There is an open feature request where when you click on an item, it takes you to the PDP page and also applies the configuration that is set on the cart item. So right now the size is small, quantity is 1. Assuming that the feature goes through, when you land on the PDP page, the color and the size are automatically selected for you. I'll just add another item to the cart. Also, there are links to directly check out from here, which takes you to the checkout page and also to the cart page. These are part of 7.0, not the mini cart, but with the cart and the checkout pages. Also, this is the desktop view, but once we switch to the mobile view, once you click on the mini cart button, it wouldn't open the mini cart for you. It directly takes you to the cart page. That's because of the UX design, trying to make sure that we don't waste enough space by trying to open a new drawer when you click on the mini cart, which is how it's done previously, but we have rather moved away from that. And that's it from my end, Zetlin. If there are any questions, please.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
That looks great. How does it key off mobile? How is it checking to change the behavior when you switch to mobile view? Like, how does it key off? Like, is it checking the width or something, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So let's do that. I guess the width is somewhere around 760. Oh no, 360 or something. Let's see. Yeah. So once you hit 360, the width, if you look at the width on the top, the pixels, where is it? It switches to the mobile view. Andy, do you remember what is the pixel count? At which point it's going to switch to mobile view?
Yeah, we've got a few different breakpoints.
Yeah.
I think, 768 is one of them. 960 is another one. 640. I think there's only one place in the whole code base, I think, where we do something at 360.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly don't remember the pixel count, but at a certain level, like we can actually see that in the minicart CSS. Oh, not the minicart CSS.
But does the button behavior change though, right? I'm not really thinking about the breakpoints as much as like you said you went to a different page.
Yeah, so what actually happens, I think, is that we have 2 buttons displayed.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, they have different callbacks attached to them. So on mobile, you're actually seeing what looks like the same thing, but it's a different button entirely, and that just links you to the cart page.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So it's actually documented right here in the cart trigger. Like this button behaves differently. There are 2 different buttons for desktop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Looks good. Thanks.
I thought you were talking about the width.
Right.
Just if that's what we were talking about, it's 960 pixels. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you.
Any more questions, guys? Cool. Take it as a no.
Oh,
Thanks, Zetlin.
all right. You're welcome. I didn't really do anything, but I'll take credit. Thank you very much, Raventh.
You did.
And with plenty of time to go, um, Tommy Weeble, are you ready to talk briefly about the security header work that we have done?
I can try to keep it brief, but yeah, let's roll. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
So let me go
I'm
ahead and
not.
share
I'm
my
not.
screen.
I'm not
Sorry,
ready, Tommy.
somebody's not ready. Let's make sure. Okay.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, I'm ready now.
Can you do a countdown? Just do a countdown.
3. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I first have to credit Zetlin a lot with laying the foundation for this work. So that what he did with one line of code was just mind-blowing, where he injected the build bus, our extensibility framework, into Upward. So Upward is kind of our kind of routing what PWA needs from the back end to function. So if you're familiar with Upward configs, it kind of tells you what headers, HTTP code, and the body that you're going to get for each request from the PWA. So he had this brilliant idea to inject the build bus into it, so you can kind of modify those Upward configurations in your own app. So we started using web page tests to validate that we're kind of doing things correctly. Kind of gives you a general idea of how things are going. And we had this glaring F on security. So this is kind of the first step to kind of get ourselves to be more secure by default. I will preface this that this is not a completely secure thing, but it does get us an A+ on web page tests, so I'm going to call it a success. But the very first thing that we did in the scope of this was we made Upward kind of modifiable by build bus. So any extensions now can modify an Upward config. You can actually never write YAML ever again if you didn't want to. You can write Upward configs in JS. So the first big thing here is the build bus now in the Upward include plugin. It allows you to transform those Upward YAMLs here. And then there's some example here on what you may want to do. So an example Zetlin provided. I just cherry picked this. He did all this work. So a simple thing you could do is like if your backend is down, you can put your PWA in maintenance mode very easily just by flipping an environment variable. And then your PWA could throw a 503 for all of its responses instead of trying to serve something that it knows is going to fail. So with that header injection, we are now able to, still going to validate this pattern, but I'm going to call this like a security extension. So I have a new package here in this extensions directory called Upward Security Headers. And all it does is inject some security headers from an Upward file into the Venia UI Venia app shell. And those security headers are as follows. And we just did the ones that web page test requires. It overreaches a little bit because some of these headers are really only required for like IE 11, which we don't support anyway. But just to get us an A+, we included them anyway. But you'll see the big one here is the CSP header. You want to define everywhere where you want to allow assets, JavaScript fonts, images, all of that fun stuff. So you'll see here that depending on if you are in development or production mode, we now inject a CSP header. I think we might actually just go ahead and do this all the time. There may also be an opportunity for us to inject the report header only and kind of send these CSP reports to a service rather than just logging them in the console. But for right now, we inject these 5 headers. You'll see we're now getting an A+. the big five were CSP, HSTS, content type options, X-frames options, and cross-site scripting protection. And then that, what that does is, so Upward was already extensible by the design, that if there was a Upward definition for Vinia security headers already in my own scaffolded app, I could go ahead and just override what that was. So I could have easily done this purely in JavaScript because of that awesome build bus entry point now. But because we want to allow this to be extensible as well, you now have two options to do that. You can just write an Upward file and overwrite this security header definition, or you could tap into the same target that we're tapping into and add your own additional headers. The result of that now is that the Vinia app shell now has security headers injected into it. So you'll see that same security policy is now there in the request header, or the response header rather, and all those additional fun things. It's not a lot of work, but I think it really opened up a lot of opportunities to make Upward much more extensible than it already was, and really opens it up. Kind of in doing this, we kind of realized, like, well, maybe we probably need to inject these headers in every request. So we discovered that the directory resolver that serves all of the assets, all of the JavaScript files, anything that's not the app shell, basically, probably wants these headers as well. Not the CSP one, but all the other ones. We probably want to inject all these headers in all those requests. So we have some work scoped out to do a new resolver. We're going to call it the merge resolver, where we define we want to define these as kind of like base headers. So we're going to have like app shell base headers, asset base headers. So if you write your own Upward definition files and you want to easily inject those headers into your response, you can merge those headers into your response. So you don't really have to do any of this extension stuff. But we think this is still a huge value add. I would merge this PR with just adding this target, honestly, without the security headers, because it's so cool. And writing Upward definitions in JavaScript is a lot of fun. So that is it for the security part of things. I don't know if Zetlin has anything to add or if there's any questions.
No,
Yeah.
you nailed it, man. Yeah, I think broadly, the YAML part of Upward is not the important part. It was just a format I thought was readable and works a lot like a make file, which is kind of the idea of Upward. So the main thing about it is just its structure, and so it makes perfect sense to write it in JavaScript. The only downside I see to that is that you are, in writing it that way, you're injecting the security headers into any area of the Upward definition that is defining headers. So that's a push. And if a given Upward file has several different places where it defines and returns a headers object, then you need to kind of know that beforehand or traverse the tree to detect that. And I was thinking it might be cool to define a context value of the security headers that is like a known new top level definition, like Vinia security headers or common security headers, so that like say Vinia could have the Upward CSP module as one of its dependencies, and then it would know that Vinia security headers is one of the context values that is available in its own Upward file, and then it could cite it in several places. But that would require a way to merge objects, which is what we were talking about. So that would let you kind of do pull instead of push. I'm not saying that's better, but it's just another way to think about it, and it's more of an inversion of control type of thing. But I think the main thrust, like you said, is that Upward is supposed to be something that you manipulate as part of the build. I'm really glad that you um, had a good time with it and implemented it great.
Yeah, and you probably made a good point is that us on the core team, we should not write upward definitions in JavaScript, even though it's so cool. That's probably reserved for the SIs. so
I don't know. I'm not saying that.
It's easy to overwrite. It's easy to overwrite our opinion on things if you want to. It's easier for you to do that if we don't do it in JavaScript because you don't have to worry about execution order of those definitions. So that is a good point.
I just, inversion of control is always a good idea. It's fine to write upward in JavaScript. That's fine. It's just overwriting, like, imperatively modifying code that already exists can be a little bit more brittle. But this is still something that gives Venia an A. So I definitely want to merge it, and we'll revisit it later, when we update the spec. Thank you. Much appreciated, Tommy. Any questions about that? That's kind of a big topic. No? Okay. I see, Gaurav, but your mic is on, but I can't hear you. Were you asking something? Apparently not. All right. Well, it's time for Anthula to talk about some of the UX primitives that we've been working on. This is really exciting stuff because it's the building blocks for you to build features more quickly that look right and have the right style and things. So, Anthula Wojcik, please take the wheel if you're ready.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Let's see. You guys able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we've been working on a couple of more components and bringing that up to spec with the new design. So I just wanted to showcase some of those things. We worked on some features for the accordion styles that you might see throughout the app. So what I did was I'm a logged in user. I have a bunch of stuff in my checkout. Went on a shopping spree. And you can see that some of the new styles have been applied to the accordions here to bring it up to spec. Along with, I think we've seen some of the input work before. So you can kind of see the new design. I think it makes it a little more clear for users. You'll see that in the cart and also in checkout mainly. Here, some new stuff here. We also worked on some card designs, so I wanted to show that as well. So you can see here, this is kind of a new component that uses the new design. And we have, different states, hover states as well, to access stuff in your checkout. And then a third thing that we updated was the filters. So if you are browsing a category page and you click on filters, you'll see this modal that before, and we've updated the styles here as well. That uses, the new inputs, and you'll see there's a new design for these pills that will apply. We also moved the clear results button to the top here and renamed the apply styles to see results. So you'll be able to filter your search by that and also clear any filters you might have back to default. And those 3 items are basically it for the new UI that we are working to improve. So any questions on that?
Right. Thank you super a lot.
Okay.
Oh, we got a question? All right. Oh, nothing from Gaurav. I guess that was earlier when he said he wasn't meaning to make noise. Okay, thank you, Athula. We're looking forward to seeing that library build out. Really appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Okay, we got to the end quicker than I thought, but I think for the last couple of minutes, we're kind of competing between Community Corner and me. I can talk about image optimization and some bugs we ran into and some best practices we should talk about. I can talk about routing, though I think that's a larger subject that it would help more for me to go into it more, so maybe I'll have a separate session for that. And we also have Community Corner. So with 5 minutes left, I want to see if Jordan, Lars, if you have things to talk about or people want to bring them up. And suddenly, I don't see either one of those guys. All right. If both of our community maintainers, okay, if both of our community maintainers are absent right now, then I think I can begin and talk about image optimization, etc. Shall we? Okay. I am going, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. Just give me a second to get prepped. I admit that I did not expect to have to do this because it was such a packed agenda, but everyone was really cool and fast. So there is a pull request, which I'll have visible, and an issue, which I will demonstrate. Word. Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right, I shall now share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So this was a bug originally opened because the entire dev server would crash and the production server would crash as well when it was trying to optimize an image. So it's okay for our optimizer not to be able to optimize every image. Sometimes images are broken, but it's a bug for the whole thing to crash. And it turned out to be my fault because I am the maintainer of the library which simulates Fastly optimization for situations where Fastly is not available. For our Cloud Pro and for the desired and simplest way to deploy PWA Studio, you use these URL parameters to optimize our images. You don't have to think about it a lot because most images in Venia are automatically, the URLs for them are automatically generated when, whoops, I'll show you in a minute. The URLs for them are automatically generated when you use the make URL function, and that works in links and it works in images. But you end up with these URL parameters that set, say, the width, the format, etc. And what processes those is, in production, is the Fastly I/O feature that's part of the Magento Commerce Cloud Pro tier. And that stuff is super fast. But if you don't have that when you're working on PWA Studio locally, or if you're deploying to some architecture or some server or cloud that does not have that feature, then you're not going to be able to compress your images at all, especially because you don't have access to Magento's pre-compressed and cached images. And it's better to be able to do that on the fly anyway. So we added an image optimization feature that is present in the dev server, automatically added, and in the little staging server script that comes with Venia, we also add it. And that is powered by a library called Hastily, which I'll show it to you real fast. It is a compatibility layer that
font size.
Can you see my screen? What?
Yeah. Okay. The font size is pretty small.
Still? Okay.
Yeah, better. I guess probably it's my internet. It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay, Revan. If it's your fault, you're not allowed to talk. I don't know. Is this visible to everybody?
Yep,
Okay, good.
I can see it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So anyway, this is the underlying software that powers that, and I wasn't handling its errors well. And one of the errors that occurred to it was that Nginx was configured to gzip images. Now, you shouldn't do that. Hastily has to process images on the fly, so it needs to be able to grab the JPEG and begin it, and it has to guess all of that from the headers. Some architectures, I guess by default, have their Nginx instance configured to compress images. Nginx is really frequently used as the top image, as the top layer to serve HTTP requests, and to handle SSL and stuff, and then Node or something else runs behind it. There are other options, but Nginx is frequently used, and I think some instructions tell it to gzip every image. There's no reason to do that. If you ever tried to put an MP3 in a zip file or a JPEG in a zip file, you might notice that does not work very well, and sometimes the file's even larger because those formats are already using the same kind of compression. So if you gzip images, you are wasting CPU, and you are surprising the browser and any other middleware that wants to work with the actual image data. So for a while, I tried to make Hastily just do this, but instead now what it does is it actually will log a particular error, and I can reproduce the issue here. Yeah, you know what? I didn't have that ready to go, but I think I can do it fast. You know what? Actually, I don't think we have time. But what we chose to do is instead of supporting gzipping images, this pull request will now add, and you can look at this if you'd like, the pull request which lists some sources on why you shouldn't gzip images, and then it will actually log an error. So in production, if you're using this middleware, it'll log an error level to the error log and explain that the image that came in was gzipped or compressed with broadly or something, and that's the wrong thing to do. The image will be passed through or break. So this is one of the ways that we're trying to encourage best practices and make it hard to do the bad thing. And if you happen to be gzipping images, you'll be able to tell because you'll see a content encoding header on the images as they come in. So that's the story with our image optimization middleware right now and the update that we made. Because the update was mostly made to Hastily, you might notice that most of this PR is just updating that dependency. So you might want to do that too. And then this sharp is the underlying C library, which does fast image compression. Any questions about that? All right. And any other business to bring to our attention? Anybody? Thoughts, ideas? All right, we're at 10:47. Really appreciate everyone's time this morning / afternoon / evening. Andrew, do I need to do anything to make the recording stop, or do you want to seal it up?
I will do that. I think we're all good.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you next week.